Hey everybody! Before I painted Tough Enough to Wear Pink, I had to have the idea. But after that, I had to get the drawing down on the canvas so I could paint it. So curl up on a couch with your favorite blanket, maybe a cup of cocoa, and I'll tell you how to do it. Hey, who's got the cookies? Hey art tubers! Well, today I'm going to do the video that I promised you on how I got the drawing down for my painting Tough Enough to Wear Pink. Some of you may know this technique already, and some it may be brand new to you, but this technique has been used by artists for hundreds and probably close to 1,000 years now. And of course I'm talking about gridding out either your drawing or your photograph. And so this is the original photo that I started with. It's not color corrected, and I think it's got just the look that I'm going for. But I did do a little bit of color work. I'm showing you that I filled in some of that fill light, lightened it up, and then gave him a nice pink wild rag. And so this photo has exactly the look that I'm going for. And I want it to be as accurate of a drawing and a painting of Bradley here as I can possibly get. And that's what gridding is going to do for me. And that's what it's going to do for you too. Now this is the grid that I use. I use smaller squares or rectangles where I need more information. And I overlay that over my photograph. And I do the same over my canvas or my drawing, whatever I need. And then I just take and transfer those lines that you would see in the photograph in the same place down on the drawing. And you know, if you do that, you're going to have a relatively easy time transferring this. Now, one of the ways that I could really suggest that might help you in starting to do this is your eye is going to start thinking, well, I've got a face here. And so you're going to make corrections. Even though you're looking at that grid, it's going to not go down exactly right. So one of the tricks that I used to use as an illustrator is I would turn my image upside down and my paper upside down, and I would draw that way. And then that way I was just looking at shapes rather than a thing. And I think you'll find that if you do that, that's going to help you be a lot more accurate in taking your photo or your smaller study to a larger work. I know that many landscape artists will take and do this. Let's say they've done a study outside, a plein air painting, or they've done a smaller work, and then they come into the studio and they want to blow it up and get relatively close to the painting that they've already done and the composition that they have. So they'll take a sheet of clear acetate when the painting's dry, they'll tape it on the top, they'll grid it out and do the same with their canvas, and then that way they get a very accurate drawing of what their small painting was, and they're able to go on and do their large painting. Oh, one little thing I'll caution you about. Be careful to make sure that the reference that you're using doesn't have any camera distortion in it, because if it's in the photo, you're going to capture it in your drawing. This isn't a problem if you're freehanding. You can make those adjustments, but you know, if you're using gridding, you're going to put down exactly what you see, and that's something you need to guard against. You know, like I said, this has been used for hundreds, if not 1,000 years, and artists continue to use it to this day because it's so effective and it really works. So there are several ways that I work on getting my drawings down. One is I'll take and I'll freehand on the canvas with a brush, and many times I'll do that if I'm going to be painting a landscape or something like that. And then there's gridding, which you can do if you need to be more accurate, but not quite to the level of, let's say, doing a story painting like I like to do. When I do that, I'll do a detailed drawing on a sheet of paper that's in proportion, and then I'll take that sheet of paper and I'll have it blown up, and then I'll transfer it down by putting charcoal on the back and rubbing it down and then sealing that drawing. And well, I'll seal this drawing as well, but I'll seal that drawing so that it stays there and I don't have to worry about it creeping and going all out of whack on me. One suggestion I haven't made yet that I really should is don't get all overexcited and draw everything in real dark. You'll notice that I'm starting out pretty light, and that's because I'm going to be making corrections along the way. You know, this is more of an art than an exact science, and you're going to want to give yourself that option. Oh, unless you're one of those superheroes whose power is never having to use an eraser. Just make sure you use your power for good and not evil. But hey, I'm just like everybody else. I would love to get through this and get the painting as fast as possible. I've learned from experience to take my time with this, and the more accurate my drawing is, the easier the painting is going to go. I can spend time fixing the drawing now, or I can spend a lot more time later fixing the painting, and I find that I prefer the former rather than the latter. I started out as an airbrush artist, a traditional airbrush artist back in the early 80s. And one of the things with airbrushing is you have to have every little thing worked out before you start cutting friskets and spraying. And so that was kind of where I'm coming from. And you know, we're all just creatures of habit. This is the way I learned to do it, so this is the way I stick with. It's what I'm most comfortable with. And even though digitally I went on to do my airbrushing in Photoshop later on, I maintained this doing the drawing first and working things out as much as I can. And I find that probably where a lot of artists go wrong is that they just don't take the time to think out what they're going to do, and they just start slinging paint, and unfortunately it doesn't always work out. So if I go and spend a little more time figuring out to make sure that I've got a portrait right, or a scene that I'm painting, some kind of a story scene, then I definitely want to do that. It pays off in spades down the road, because I'm not having to fix things in the painting area. You know, I can concentrate not on the drawing, but on the color temperatures and the value, lights and darks, and making sure that everything's sitting where it's supposed to. And it's one less thing that I have to worry about. And so that's why I'm going to continue to do what I do, the way I do it. Now I'm starting to feel like I've got the drawing roughed in enough that I can go in and use this Cretacolor Nero color pencil, which is the first time I've used this particular pencil on my drawings on the canvas. I like it very much when I'm drawing because it doesn't smudge nearly as much, which is a great advantage if you're left-handed like I am and you tend to smear everything that you draw. But what I found later on with this is when I went and sealed the drawing, it wasn't as clean as the charcoal tends to be. And so I probably won't use this pencil for my drawings on canvas anymore, but I'll very much continue to use it on my paper. I'm getting far enough along that you're going to start seeing me check my angles. I have the original photo just on my screen. I'd like to make doubly sure that the angles that I've drawn and I've seen are accurate. And it's just another way of ensuring that you're getting as accurate a drawing as you possibly can. I'm going to do a little time jumping here and take you a little bit farther forward when I've continued to refine the drawing and added in some more shading so that I understand what my marks are. And along the way I've kind of figured out how that works for me to be able to read that quickly. At this point I've finished the drawing, and now all that's left to do is to take and seal it. So here is what I use. I use Liquin Original, and I add in about 15 to 20% of Gamsol, which is, you know, my brush thinner, And it just makes it a little easier to brush on in a thinner manner. And you get a nice thin coat to it. I'm just looking to seal it. I'm not looking to smother it. So I put a coat of this on there. So use an inexpensive chip brush. And a little bit on the brush. And even though I'm doing this to seal the drawing on here, I will put this on the entire canvas because I want the paint that comes and follows when I apply it. I want it all to have the same way of interacting with the canvas. So that means completely sealing the whole entire canvas that I'm going to paint on. And so I'm just quickly putting it on, and then I'll go back over, and with a dry brush I'll kind of take off any areas that are maybe a little thicker than they should be. So I just kind of wet the edge, or wet the canvas. See that we need to take a little bit of that off because there are peaks and valleys there. So I want to take as much of that off as possible. Now when you do this, use a very light touch, because if you're going to get in there and you're going to pull up that charcoal and it's just going to be a mess. So a light touch on this really helps. And that's about it. The drawing's all done. It's ready to start painting. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you like what you see, please hit the subscribe button, the like button, the share button, any buttons you see. Go ahead and just smash them down. Go on, I won't tell. Thanks, and I'll see you down the road.